So invasive animal species can wreak havoc on our local ecosystems, either by outcompeting the native species that are already there, introducing diseases, and other sorts of impacts that come about when something that didn't evolve in the area becomes established. And a lot of the invasive species we have are actually species that people release that used to be their pets. So this is things like crayfish, bullfrogs, snapping turtles, even goldfish. All of these species can just explode and take off if they're brought into a new ecosystem where they didn't evolve. So if you are going to have a reptile or an amphibian as a pet, you really need to take into consideration the entire life cycle of that creature and have a plan for how you're going to deal with it. So from knowing how big it's going to get to how long it's going to be around. Am I going to be able to devote several decades potentially to owning something like a turtle that can live for a really long time? And if you're not going to be able to take care of it eventually, you need to have a plan in place for rehoming it or getting rid of it in some way, because you should never, ever, ever release a reptile or amphibian into the wild that you've kept as a pet. Because if you do release it out into the wild, most likely what's going to happen is that that animal is not going to be able to find the resources it needs, or it's not going to be used to this climate, and it's going to suffer and die. And if it doesn't die, then that's almost a worse situation, because then it can become an invasive species. And already in Montana, we have invasive species like bullfrogs, and on the western part of the state, snapping turtles and pond sliders that are already causing major damage to our local ecosystems. So if you do have a pet that you simply can't take care of anymore, again, the main emphasis, do not release it into the wild under any circumstances. Not only is that morally wrong, but in most cases it is illegal to do that. So other options are, you can try to rehome that pet through your own network or through things like Craigslist or other sort of networks in your community. You can try calling your local humane society or local pet stores to see if they may be able to take the animal. And as a last resort, if you can't find somewhere to rehome that, you can give it to someone at Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. But we will have to euthanize that animal because we don't have the facilities or the staff to take care of people's unwanted pets.
Do your part to protect our native species. Never release pets or dump aquarium plants in water.